One, two, no. Is it raining outside? The rain has come back. I can hear it. Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am doing the long talked about, long awaited, nobody's waiting for it, but I'm doing it anyways, video about Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. I am filming this at a different location. I'm at school. I have 20 minutes before I need to leave for class, and we're going to attempt to film this YouTube video in the only time that I have been alone in our dorm room. We are going to talk about all things Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. I'm going to talk about, I read all the books, I watched the movie, I watched the entire show, which just got renewed for season 2. And I'm going to talk about what is not the best version of the Lightning Thief, because you're going to have your opinions, but what is better and what is a worse version if you were to either read them, watch them, or enjoy them in any sort of media. We're also going to get kind of a timeline in the evolution of Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. It, of course, first starts with the book coming out, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, the first book of the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series. It came out in 2006. The notes I wrote down is, this is the best book ever. I love this series. I love this book. If you've never read Percy Jackson, this is going to be a spoiler for this entire plot, and you probably also won't know what I'm talking about half the time, so go read the book and then watch this. Maybe. I don't know. Watch the show. Watch something. The plot is good. It's Percy Jackson. Yeah, if you actually don't know the plot, I'm not going to be able to explain the whole plot to you. He is a demigod. He is the child of Poseidon. He has to go on a quest to save his mom from Hades and also try and find the missing lightning bolt. It's Zeus's lightning bolt is missing. They think Percy stole it. He has to go get it. He thinks Hades has it. Lots of insanity ensues. He goes with his two quest partners, Annabeth Chase and Grover Underwood, who become his two best friends. And that is the plot of this book, them going on this quest and doing Greek mythology stuff. It's a really good book. That was the worst description ever of it, but it's a really good book. The notes I wrote down while reading it, I read this while I was watching the show. The first season just came out, so I was doing those two at the same time, and then also I read the other things like in between. So I kind of have a lot of notes about this in relation to the show. Percy is whinier than I remember, especially that came out while I was watching it. I was realizing he was like whiny in the show, and I realized he's like that in the book, and I just wasn't picking up on it. But I liked it, like it wasn't a bad thing in this book. Percy Jackson's just over everything. He doesn't care. He's done with everyone. A lot of good detail. I love the inner dialogue of Percy. He is sarcastic. He is witty. He doesn't care about anyone. He's over it. That is only in this. It's in nothing else, and it's really good for that. It's honestly not that long of a book. It's 375 pages about. It's not a super long book, but it's up there, but it's a children's book, so it's pretty easy to read. I'm getting a million notifications right now on my phone because season 2 literally was just announced. That's how you know what time I filmed this, if you care. And every account that I follow is just posting. And so I keep looking at them in the corner of my phone that's filming this. Yeah, reading this while watching the show actually changed my perspective of the book a little bit in like a good way. I paid more attention to some of the minor characters and his interactions with everyone, and I really took stock of the scenes. And was like trying to pay attention because I would read this and then I would watch the episode, and so I was trying to see what was in this show and what was not. And there's a lot in this book that is in the show, which I will obviously talk about, but there's a lot in this book that I like forgot about because it's not in many of the other adaptions. And so I think it's worth it if you've never read it, but maybe you've seen the movie or you watched the show or you saw the Broadway musical, which is another thing we'll be talking about. This is worth it. It's worth it to read. It's different. It's better. It has more detail. 10 out of 10 book. So this is, obviously nothing's going to beat this. This is the best version of Percy Jackson. It's the original. Everything stemmed from this. But I thought it was worth it to then talk about everything else that came after this. So that came out in 2006. The rest of the series started being released, obviously. The next iteration of Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief that actually came out was the graphic novel. This came out in 2010. It is way shorter, as you can see, in comparison. This is 375 pages. It doesn't have page numbers. I would guess 100 pages, and it's a graphic novel, so it's all whatever page of it. It's all, it's a graphic novel. It's a comic book, basically. It does follow the plot of the book, but there is a lot cut out, actually. There's actually a lot cut out of this version, more than I thought. A lot of the scenes are missing. A lot of the major scenes are missing. Like, there is no Medusa in this version, which I feel like is like the predominant like part of Percy Jackson's quest that I think of is him interacting with Medusa. It's just not even in it. There's a lot of stuff not in it. It's missing a lot of the scenes, which are fine. A lot of these versions are missing a lot of scenes. You can't put everything from the book into these smaller adaptations. It's definitely not the best version. I definitely don't think this is the best version at all. I also don't like some of the depictions of the characters. Like, I just feel like that's not Percy Jackson. That's just my prerogative. Some people might be... What is my mother texting? Oh, Moana is also coming out. I'm getting texts from everyone right now. I'm famous and popular. Moana 2 is coming out. This is getting a season 2. It's a great day. Okay, my final notes on this are a lot of the small moments are gone. A lot of the big moments are gone. A lot of things are missing. My final note was it didn't have the same charm as the book, or as I actually read this last. I didn't think about it. It doesn't have the same charm as like any of the other versions at all. I think this is actually my least favorite version out of everything I'm going to be talking about, because it just doesn't feel the same. And I don't know why. I don't know what about it. It's missing some of the like small cute moments between characters. I feel like it's just like plot point, plot point, plot point, plot point, and I don't know why, and I don't know why I don't like it, but something about this is just a little off. And so this is definitely my least favorite out of all of the versions. You can read it. I don't recommend it. If you like graphic novels and you refuse to read Percy Jackson, I would say that this is fine. Like, it's not unreadable. And if you've never read Percy Jackson, you actually might like this better because you're not comparing it to anything else. But in comparison to the book, it is definitely not the same, definitely actually a worse version. After both of those came out, and actually in the same year that this came out, in 2010, the movie Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief came out by Fox Studios, also in 2010, so these came out in the same year. A lot's going on in this movie. There's some, complicated feelings and opinions about this movie in the Percy Jackson fandom as a whole. It is not very faithful to the book at all. It is a very different plot. They are still going on a quest, but they're looking for these pearls. They're doing all this stuff. They're going to the same locations as the book, but they're there for a different reason altogether. Everyone is aged up like crazy. They're supposed to be 12 in this book, and they are all in the movie like already 14, but I think all of the actors like 20 or 20 something or older, which is fine. That happens sometimes. In media, we don't always get the exact age adaptation. Sometimes we gotta look past these things, and we just gotta enjoy a silly movie for a silly movie. I love watching this movie. It is not the Percy Jackson plot, but if you just take it for what it is, it's actually not like an awful movie. It's actually really funny and makes zero sense, and that's great. There are actually some scenes that are like super faithful to the book, and that I like love more. There is Mrs. Dodd's scene right at the beginning where Mrs. Dodds turns into a fury, tries to attack Percy Jackson, and Percy Jackson has to stop her with his pen sword. And in the book, it's really good. It's really deep, In the movie, it's actually one of my favorite scenes. It's like so intense, and it's such like right at the beginning, you just are like, okay, yes. Logan Lerman is like so good as Percy Jackson for real. He is sassy, he is quick, he's yelling things, he doesn't care. I think he's a good Percy Jackson. Like, I think all the Percy Jacksons like themselves are actually really good. The prophecy in this one is wrong. There's a prophecy in the book that's like sets them on the quest. There's just a different prophecy sending them on a different quest. I don't know who wrote the script or who made this plot. It wasn't Rick Riordan, who is the author of all of this. My other note that I wrote, I love Logan Lerman. I love Logan Lerman. He's great in this, honestly. And I like how Annabeth is portrayed in this. She's strong. Like, I feel like it is a good movie. It's just not the plot of Percy Jackson. But if you're here to have a good time, I say you just enjoy it despite its faults. I like to do that a lot of things. I call it hate watching, but I don't actually hate it. We just watch it to make fun of it. And it's actually one of my favorite things ever, if you watch a movie knowing you're not going to love it, but you're just going to make fun of it and have a good time while you're there. I recommend watching this movie, actually. Most people don't, but I think it's a silly movie. The second one is also a silly movie. This one has the Lotus Hotel, which even though everyone hates this movie in the Percy Jackson fandom, everyone loves this scene. They're in Las Vegas and the Lotus Hotel, and they're eating these cookies, and what's it called? Poker Face is playing by Lady Gaga, and it's absolutely insanity, and chaos is going on, and you don't know what's going on, and they're all acting high, and I don't know, they're all drugged with the cookies, and it's actually so funny. Honestly, worth it to watch the movie just for that scene. I think the ending is it is all over the place. The ending is actually nowhere near what the book is, so I wouldn't just watch the movie by itself and be like, oh, I know the plot of Percy Jackson. You don't. But, watch the movie. Like, you don't need to be an elitist. That's a controversial opinion, but just enjoy things. It's alright. The next thing that actually comes out isn't the TV show. It is the Broadway musical, The Lightning Thief, the Percy Jackson musical. It has a complicated and long history, and so I wrote all that. There's actually a lot of dates that go on. The movie came out in 2010, and then nothing actually happened with The Lightning Thief specifically. Rick Riordan kept releasing other series, Heroes of Olympus, Trials of Apollo, all those other side projects, Magnus Chase, everything else. But Lightning Thief specifically, the Broadway musical, was first created in 2014. It then went on a US tour in 2015. It disappeared for a year. It had an off-Broadway revival in 2017. In 2019, it went on another US tour. And also in 2019, it made it to Broadway. And then in 2021, they published the script. They let the rights out, and anyone could publish the script and read it and put on the production themselves if they paid the rights. I saw the Broadway production and its US tour in 2019. I also obviously bought this and read it multiple times now, and there are bootlegs up on YouTube if you search correctly, and you can see the US tour version, and you probably can find Broadway recordings of it. So, I mean, this is obviously also really short. It's a script. Scripts are always short. It's 100 pages. I love this musical. I love the soundtrack. It's on Spotify. You can listen to it. It has the charm and appeal of the first book. It has a million references. It has all of the iconic quotes from the book put in here, put in the songs. They took a lot of time and obviously crafted something incredible with this. Chris McCarroll plays Percy Jackson. He is 20-something and acts like a 13-year-old the entire time. He acts like a child. They all do. They're all adults. It's a Broadway musical. It's not children. It's all adults, but they act like children in the most perfect way, and you accept it. You're like, yep, that's a child. That's a 13-year-old child. Perfect casting. This doesn't take itself super seriously. It's I feel like that's the problem with the graphic novel, is the graphic novel takes itself super seriously. This is just out to have a good time. Whether you see it or you read it or you listen to the music, they are out for a good time. They are here to give Percy Jackson fans just a fun either read through, a watch, a listen. It's worth it 100%. But it doesn't take out anything super major. It takes out some of the scenes for time reasons because we're spending all this time on the songs instead of, advancing the plot sometimes, but it's worth it because the songs are great. Everyone's a great singer. I love this version so much. Highly recommend it. If you've never seen it, heard it, read it, I recommend you get on it and you pay attention, because this is one of my favorite versions of Percy Jackson. Especially in any of the formats. It's very fun. It's a very fun musical. Okay, obviously, last we have the season. We have the show, Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief show, that just came out this year, and the end of 2023 and the beginning of 2024. It came out weekly. It was magical, wonderful, all of the things. That's where this came from. It's the, finally an official Camp Half-Blood t-shirt. It was everything I had ever hoped for. I'm not even gonna lie. I've been thinking about this since it was first announced in 2020 in the midst of COVID, which is crazy that that's how long ago it was announced. I was a senior in high school in COVID lockdown, and this show came out and I'm a senior in college about to graduate, which is crazy how long it took, but it was so worth it. It was so worth the wait. It features Walker Scobell as Percy Jackson, Leah Jeffries as Annabeth Chase, and Ariane Samadre is Grover Underwood. Also, Charlie Bushnell as Luke. I just think he did a fantastic job. That's a different note, but the three of them are so strong. They are young kids. Walker Scobell is perfect as Percy Jackson. Leah Jeffries is perfect as Annabeth. Ariane is perfect as Grover Underwood. They are so good as their characters. These are the notes that I wrote down, as I watched the show as it came out, and I'm just gonna, they're kind of all over the place. Some of the information is given out of order, but it is still all given. It just happens differently because of the pacing of the show. The pacing of the show is a little weird. sometimes, but you just kind of just don't worry about it. A lot is cut down from the beginning chapters. The first 2 episodes were like really fast. They got to Camp Half-Blood and they got to the quest within 2 episodes, which I thought was really shocking. But then they kind of were able to spend more time on the quest itself, so I liked it. I didn't really have any major complaints. I just thought it was interesting that a lot of the smaller stuff was getting cut, specifically in just the first 2 episodes. There's a lot of direct quotes straight from the book. Obviously, they worked very closely with the book. They actually followed it. This is as close to a book as I've seen. It's similar to the Hunger Games. I feel like the Hunger Games movies were very truthful to the books in a lot of ways, and that's highly regarded as some of the better adaptations. This is similar. It was a really good adaptation from book to screen. It's not a lot is missing for real, and stuff that is changed. There's a lot of stuff changed, but it's changed for the better. It's closer to the original Greek mythology. It lets the characters have a little bit more character growth in the first season, so that in future seasons it's kind of already been set up a little bit better. They use a lot more of the relationships between the demigods and the gods in a parent-child relationship that's not in the books, but that I thought was really good and really interesting. Instead of them just being these far-off gods, they're like, no, these are actually these are our parents, and they're not doing their job as a parent. And I thought that was really interesting and worth the time that they spent on it. You can see the development between Annabeth and Percy really well. I wrote down a lot of things. Grover cares a lot about Percy in a very different way than the books. I feel like it's a lot more like a brotherly friendship, right off the bat. And I feel like it takes a little bit longer in the books for that to happen. Lin-Manuel Miranda is just an entire point that I wrote down. I love him. I hate him. I don't know what to tell you about Lin-Manuel Miranda. He is, an icon, a savior of this generation. And also, how is he in everything? Every time he's on the screen, I don't see Hermes. I see Lin-Manuel Miranda. But everyone is making Hamilton edits right now to him. And Charlie Bushnell, who plays Luke, so I'm here for that. So I guess I'm here for Lin-Manuel Miranda being in this show. Walker Scobell can do no wrong. That's the next thing. Episode 5 is a cinematic masterpiece. Episode 5 is, I don't know what episode 5 is. Why is it a cinematic masterpiece? Where is my Disney Plus? Oh, A God Buys Us a Cheeseburger is episode 5. Episode 5 is great. This is the first adaptation that's had, they go to an amusement park and they are in a tunnel of love, and it's the first adaptation that's even had them going to the amusement park. They changed it a little bit in the book. I think this version is actually a lot better. It's, once again, everything's a lot more mythology heavy. Grover and Ares had this whole conversation. It was so good. It had me feeling things. I was like, oh my gosh, these children are acting their guts out, and I'm gonna cry in my living room surrounded by all of my friends because I watched this whole show with everyone I know at college. And I was like, I can't cry right now, but I was going to. Yeah, most faithful adaptation, hits every point, every major point, minor point. This has the same charm as the book. This is different than, once again, the graphic novel is the only thing that doesn't have the same charm. The movie's charm is a little bit different, but this has the same loving charm that was in the book and in the musical, and I love it. I loved Hades at the end. When they get there, the man who plays Hades plays him in not the same way that the book Hades is written, but I feel like he is so good. I can feel it coming whenever we get to season 3 and Nico's there and we finally get Hades and Nico relationship. I feel like this is the perfect Hades for that relationship. There's a relationship between Poseidon and Sally in this version, which isn't in anything else. It isn't in the book, but I feel like once again it's that idea of the parent and the children, and it's so good. The flashback scenes in this show are so good. I was on the verge of crying in the show. The ending of this show was incredible. The fact that they missed the deadline, that Percy went to Zeus anyways, and Poseidon had to say that he lost the war that was going to happen so that he could save Percy. Honestly, so good. It's really a good show. 9 out of 10. I don't know why it's not a 10 out of 10. You gotta leave room for growth. I don't know. 10 out of 10 show. Forget that. 10 out of 10 show. 10 out of 10 book. It's way better than the movie, obviously. In adaptions, I don't know. The book, musical, TV show, movie, graphic novel. I really don't like the graphic novel. It's just not the same. I don't know why I don't like that one. But I highly recommend, if you watch the TV show, you read the book. If you read the book and didn't watch the TV show for some reason, watch the TV show. It's worth it. You can throw the movie in there if you'd like. You can throw the musical in there if you'd like. And just, I don't know, maybe ignore the graphic novel. Maybe don't. Maybe I was just in a bad mood when I read it and just in comparison, it's not as great as the others, but on its own, it's probably pretty solid. Okay, those are all my opinions on Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. I don't know if you cared, but if you listened and you watched, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you heard me rant about something that I very passionate about, care a lot about. I love Percy Jackson. It is why I am into reading. It's why I'm into writing, and I'm, in college as a creative writing major, about to graduate. So this kind of changed the trajectory of my entire life. I feel like reading this book in the 4th or 5th grade, whatever I read it, it's given me friendships. It's given me some of my best friends. We bonded over this stuff, and now I'm sharing it to some of my other friends. I'm sharing it with my siblings. I'm sharing it with the people that live around me here in college, and it's getting a season 2, and it's continuing, and that's so great. The show is continuing with the season 2. The books are still coming out. They're releasing a whole new series right now with Percy and Annabeth and Grover. I don't know what to tell you. This is going to be part of my life forever, I feel like, and so I just wanted to share it with everyone. I hope you enjoyed. Maybe you learned something new. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you just listened to me ramble for 20-something minutes. I have to literally run to class, but it was worth it to film the video because I really wanted to. I read all the books. I did all the stuff for it. Just haven't had time to sit down and record it. So I don't know what I'll be posting next. I don't know what I'll be doing. Hopefully more book videos, probably some more random stuff from college, maybe some vlogs of some stuff that's coming up in college, some day trips and some activities and stuff like that. You'll probably see some of that stuff. Since I'm graduating, I'm going to want to put together some videos about the things I've been doing here. And I hope you enjoyed. If you liked it, leave a comment down below. Tell me what other books I should read, what other kinds of videos you'd like to see, and I will see you all later. Goodbye.